They all look dressed up and just taking a stroll. My opinion is that those are Photoshop people. We have seen this kind of thing so many times, where they don't show any faces, and the people don't fit in with the picture. Exactly how the building, or in this case pyramid, doesn't fit in our timeline. This one was from Italy and was allegedly built in 12 BC. Oh, in only 6 years. Because of course they know the exact start and finish dates of things from 2,000 years ago. Over 2,000 years ago? Yet Abe Lincoln was born in a shack? So yeah, I'm not buying that nonsense. Honestly, this is the kind of stuff that gives it all away. And why we are questioning the mainstream nonsense. They can build a pyramid 2,000 years ago, and then our civilization is brainwashed and is supposed to believe that we have evolved so much after 1,800 years that we are now being born in sheds. I can't speak for everyone, but I am not going to sit here and just accept that. As I walked around this site, it is 2,200 acres. So it's obviously massive. And the story that they're going to try and tell us is nonsense. There is the Monk's Mound, which is the main one. And I say mound, but I really mean pyramid. And I'm going to call it the Monk's Pyramid from now on. This is no random mound of dirt. And this is very clear. Yet they brush it off as a mound in its title. None of these are mounds. They're all pyramids, and they're all connected. Monk's Pyramid is 100 feet high, 955 feet long, and 775 feet wide, making it the same size at its base as the Great Pyramid of Giza, right here next to St. Louis. Let's continue on to this paragraph. The perimeter of its base is larger than the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan. All right, so we have something massive and extremely important here, covered by a layer of dirt and grass. If the layer of grass was removed and exposed what is really under it, the entire USA narrative would be completely shredded and thrown in the garbage, as it should be. People would be so confused why there's a massive pyramid and other pyramids connected to each other. It's a 2,200 acre site. Construction of the Monk's Pyramid began about 1,123 years ago, so they say, on a site that has already been occupied by buildings. Already had buildings? I'm sorry, what? In the year 900, they already had buildings? So at the same time, over in Italy, we have the St. Mark's Basilica being built in a time period before they even knew how to make paper, supposedly. So Italy is building this, and then we have massive pyramids and buildings being built in the USA by the Mississippian culture, which is completely ridiculous, because if they can build massive pyramids, then they can build a better hut than this to live in. The narrative is contradicting itself, because 850 years later, we get cowboys and Indians, and everyone is freezing in the winters in their shed. And so we're on the same page. The St. Mark's Basilica and these pyramids were built in the year 850 to 900, supposedly. And then we have all kinds of basilicas and massive structures being constructed for centuries in this ridiculous timeline that we're given. And then once 1900 hits, we are no longer able to construct the St. Mark's Basilica, or a Cologne Cathedral, or a Milan Cathedral. It is very clear that there was a reset, and our timeline is a complete fabrication, in my opinion. Now, if you're on the fence, this should help bring you over. If this was a narrative that you would stand by, blindly accepting no matter what, I think this is the time to reconsider. Since you would be backing up a mainstream narrative theory that is, by admission, a theory and not at all proven, botanical or a substance from a plant that they found that remains from the Monk Pyramid, suggests it was built much more quickly than previously thought, suggests, perhaps, maybe, on the order of several consecutive decades, but we don't know. It might be, providing an alternative view of its construction history. And there we have it. The mainstream narrative cannot explain these structures because they don't fit into the mainstream timeline. A much more logical explanation is that the previous civilization was here, an extremely advanced civilization. Should we blow this narrative away? Should we expose it and show that they are not being truthful with us? Should we show that it's not from 1,000 years ago? Let's do it. Thomas I. Ramey, who bought the site in 1864, of course. As soon as the 1800s hit, like we talked about, this was when they had to figure out the narrative, and this site was not fitting in. They tell us that an era of more responsible ownership began. What a joke. Many artifacts were found at or near the surface. Really? Finding the old world's things and removing them so that we don't see. Very interesting. So there were things here in the 1800s that would have been important for our research. Ramy had a tunnel made, or did he locate one? After everything we have seen, even in the last 5 episodes, do you think this guy made a tunnel, or do you think he found one? And of course, they brush it off and say that the tunnel revealed nothing of historic interest. I'm sorry, but the first time I read that, I laughed out loud. All once our new civilization's timeline hits. Not in the 1400s or 1600s, no. Right when the mid-1800s hit, this all takes place. Incredible. And if you thought I was crazy, thinking that removing the dirt would expose the past civilization's work, let me show you what I'm talking about, and exactly why they keep this thing covered up with grass and dirt. In 1970, they adopted an incredible strategy, one that only a genius would ever think to do. Scraping away the topsoil. Unbelievable. They dug down 2 feet, and this quickly revealed various features, including what appeared to be the outline of the temple. 2 feet under the dirt, we have a temple. We have something unbelievable. This is not a mound, this is a pyramid, and I'm sure the architecture is insane and unexplainable in this make-believe mainstream narrative timeline, which is why it's covered up with dirt and grass, as well as the rest of the 2,200 acres of pyramids. This technique was, of course, opposed by professional archaeologists, so they stopped because they found too much and would shatter their lie. Wow. Now here in the preservation section, they're going to try and explain how it stays in perfect condition for hundreds and hundreds of years. But right when the 1950s hit, all of these random natural catastrophes happen. And of course, accidentally damage the clay layers within. Can you believe it? I don't. And to put a nail in this narrative, once and for all, they say this was a clay structure, but workers discovered a mass of stone deep within the mound. This is a stone structure, not a clay structure. And we are being lied to about this pyramid at every turn, covered by dirt. And the previous civilization's work is hidden in plain sight. I also went to the St. Louis Art Museum, which had the exact same interior layout as the Field Museum in Chicago, which is very strange. We all know these buildings were not built originally to be museums, but honestly, just standing in them makes you feel as if you're in a building created for giants. The doorways are massive. The ceilings are so high, it doesn't make sense for a civilization that is short and struggling through the tough times, and without proper architecture education, and going home to their huts and riding around on donkeys to be constructing massive Greco-Roman buildings, all to just show off some bones that were made in China. That was not the true reason, and we all know this. The view